My name is Olivia, and at 27, I found myself stuck in a monotonous routine with my boyfriend, Caleb. We had been together since college, a relationship that felt more comfortable than passionate. Our constant disagreements, ranging from Caleb's unwillingness to discuss the future to his endless late-night gaming sessions, often left me feeling isolated, even when we were supposed to be sharing a bed. It was obvious we were both avoiding the conversation we knew was coming about where our relationship was headed. We still cared about each other, but the effort to nurture our bond had faded over time. In contrast, my parents had been married for over 27 years, their relationship filled with love, laughter, and private jokes. They were the foundation of my life, the kind of enduring love I dreamed of, even if it seemed out of reach with Caleb. On the night of the accident, Caleb and I had a petty argument about laundry, something he had promised to do but hadn't. Frustrated, I asked him, "Can't you just do one thing you say you're going to do?" My voice was thick with annoyance. "It's just laundry, Olivia. It'll get done eventually," he replied carelessly, still staring at his computer screen. The argument fizzled out without us confronting the deeper issues in our relationship. Later, I found myself in the back seat of my parents' car, their conversation providing a comforting backdrop, a sharp contrast to the tension I had just experienced with Caleb. They were celebrating my mother's birthday, their happiness evident. Suddenly, our world was torn apart by the harsh flash of headlights and the deafening crash of metal. Everything went dark. When I regained consciousness, I was in a hospital room, the sterile smell and the relentless beeping of machines filling the air. A heavy sense of dread settled over me as a nurse delivered the devastating news. My parents were gone, and my legs, which I had always taken for granted, might never work again. The weight of the reality hit me hard, and I felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Caleb, with whom I had just argued over something as trivial as laundry, was now the only connection I had left to the life I knew. A life where my biggest concern was whether he would remember to separate the whites from the colors. As I struggled to cope with the loss of my parents and the possibility of never walking again, despair consumed me. The future, once full of promise, now seemed bleak, confined to the cold, sterile walls of the hospital. Time stretched on, never ending. Eventually, Caleb walked into the room, his parents, Brenda and Roger, following him with worried expressions. The room was thick with sadness. Caleb sat beside me, taking my hand, his usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. "Hey, Olivia," he said softly, his voice full of sincerity and reflection. "I've been doing a lot of thinking." My voice, shaky with uncertainty, responded, "What about us?" He paused, our eyes meeting, and I saw something in his gaze I couldn't quite place. "All of this, it's made me realize just how fragile life is," he admitted. I wanted to ask him to elaborate, but the words wouldn't come. "I can't wait for the perfect moment anymore, it might never come," he continued, holding my hand tightly. "What I'm trying to say, Olivia, is, will you marry me?" His question lingered, thick in the air, unexpected and profound. It was the farthest thing from what I anticipated, especially under these circumstances. I studied his face, looking for traces of the impulsive Caleb I knew, who often acted before thinking, yet all I saw was sincerity. His mother, Brenda, stepped closer, her hands joined together. "We want you in our family, Olivia. We'll look after you." Roger chimed in quickly. "And it's not out of pity, it's because we genuinely love you and want to support Caleb with this decision." Stunned, my mind raced. This proposal was both unforeseen and somewhat rash, but it felt like a lifeline. I gazed at Caleb, seeing past the sometimes immature boyfriend to the man standing by me during the most unpredictable period of my life. "Caleb, My voice faltered as I tried to organize my thoughts. "It's okay, Olivia. You don't have to decide right now," he reassured me, his thumb gently tracing circles on my hand. I thought of my parents, their constant love and support. this was what they would have wanted for me, to be cherished no matter what. Caleb, I'm unsure about the future, about us, but yes, the word came out more confidently than I felt. Yes, I'll marry you. A genuine smile broke across Caleb's face for the first time in days. Brenda covered her mouth, sobbing softly, and even Roger's eyes shimmered with tears. Moving into my parents' house with Caleb felt like the beginning of a new chapter. The house was too large for one, filled with memories at every turn. I hoped Caleb's presence would bridge the gaps left by my parents' absence, but his company often reminded me more of what I had lost than filled the void. He started attentive, always ensuring I had what I needed within reach. Yet as weeks passed, the devoted husband facade faded. Caleb spent increasing amounts of time at his computer, headphones on, disconnecting from me. One evening, as I navigated my wheelchair into the kitchen, I found him lost in his screen. "Caleb, have you thought about looking for a job?" I ventured, trying to keep my voice light. The insurance wasn't covering everything, and the bills were mounting. He didn't tear his eyes away from the screen. "I've told you, Olivia, taking care of you is my job now." "But I can manage during the day," I replied, a hint of frustration creeping into my tone. "You don't need to be here all the time." Finally, he faced me, his expression unreadable. There was a blend of annoyance and an unreadable emotion in the air as Caleb's voice echoed in the kitchen. "What do you want from me, Olivia?" "I'm here." His tone caught me off guard. "Simply being here isn't the same as being engaged, Caleb." "I need more than a roommate. I need a partner," I explained, trying to keep my voice steady. Caleb stood up abruptly. The sound of his chair scraping against the tile floor filled the room. "You know what, Olivia? Maybe I need more than this, too. Maybe I'm not meant to be just a nurse," he said sharply. His words cut deep, and I watched him leave, the door slamming shut behind him. Left alone in the silence of our kitchen, the heaviness of his words settled around me like dust. I wasn't just alone. I felt profoundly lonely. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thoughts of our brief honeymoon phase played back in my mind. The vows we once exchanged seemed like they belonged to another era. The Caleb who had once promised to stand by my side now felt like a stranger. As the weeks went by, Caleb's absences became more frequent and his excuses thinner. He was either out with friends or lost in a digital world that seemed to exclude me entirely. I felt like an unintended burden in his life. On a particularly difficult day as I battled pain and the oppressive silence of our home, I heard the front door open. Hoping it was Caleb, I called out, but his distant voice confirmed he was just stopping by to grab a few things. "Going out with friends?" I asked, trying to hide my disappointment. He paused, keys in hand, and sighed. "Olivia, I need some space, okay? This isn't easy for me either." I nodded, holding back tears. "I understand, but I thought maybe we could spend some time together, like old times." He avoided my gaze. "Maybe when things settle down." "I have to go." The house seemed emptier with each passing day, a vast, silent space haunted by memories of better times. It wasn't just Caleb's absence or the echo of my parents' voices that made the place feel so desolate. It was the small, sentimental things that had begun to disappear. My mother's cherished vase, a silver-framed family photo, a painting that once hung proudly in the hallway. One day, as I tried to distract myself with memories, I noticed the empty spot on the wall where the painting used to hang. Puzzled, I called out for Caleb, but received no answer. Later that evening, when Caleb returned, I asked him about the missing painting. Without lifting his gaze from his phone, he said, "Oh, that old thing? It was getting dusty, and I thought we could use the space for something else." His casual dismissal unsettled me, especially when I pointed out, "But it was my mom's favorite." He barely acknowledged me, his eyes still glued to his phone. "We can always get another one," he said nonchalantly. His indifference stung, and it felt like the growing emptiness in the house mirrored the widening distance between us. At first, it seemed like a small issue, but it became clear it wasn't. The things disappearing were irreplaceable treasures that had been passed down through my family for generations. One day, I caught Caleb's mother, Brenda, in the act. She was hurriedly moving around the living room, stuffing items into a large black garbage bag. "What are you doing, Brenda?" I asked, panic rising in my chest. She jumped, her face flushing with guilt. "Oh, just a bit of spring cleaning, dear. There's just so much clutter," she replied, trying to sound casual. "But those are my things," I protested, feeling my heart race. There, she said sweetly, her tone dripping with false kindness. "We're just trying to make things nicer for you. You'll be thankful later." From that moment, I kept a close watch on her during her visits, but the thefts became more subtle and methodical. Whenever I confronted her, she reassured me that it was all for my own good. One evening, lying in bed, I turned to Caleb, who was absorbed in his phone. "Caleb, your parents have been taking things, my things," I said, my voice trembling. He didn't even look up. "Mom's just trying to help, you know? She's good at this stuff," he muttered. "Help?" I repeated, disbelief in my voice. "By taking my family's possessions?" He sighed, finally putting his phone down and facing me. "Look, they think we should focus on the future, not the past. They're just trying to make things easier for you." My frustration boiled over, but I was too drained to react. "This isn't what I want," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Caleb reached out and patted my hand, a gesture that felt more dismissive than comforting. "Try to get some sleep, Olivia. Things will look better in the morning." Unable to keep it inside any longer, I confided in Harper, my closest friend and therapist who had been helping me through my recovery. Her visits brought me much-needed comfort. "Harper, things are disappearing from the house, and I suspect Caleb and his parents are involved," I said during one of her sessions. She paused, her hands gently resting on my shoulders. "Have you talked to Caleb about this?" she asked. "I have," I replied, my voice tinged with bitterness. "But he brushes it off, saying his parents are just decluttering to help us. But it's only my family's things that are disappearing." Harper's face grew serious. "That doesn't sound right, Olivia. Would you like me to help? I can visit more often and keep an eye out." Her words sparked a sense of resolve in me. "Could you help me set up a camera to record what happens when I'm not around?" I asked, determined. Harper nodded. "I'll bring something tomorrow. We'll get to the bottom of this." True to her word, Harper arrived the next day with discreet recording devices, which we placed strategically throughout the house. It felt surreal, like a scene from a spy film, but my desperation for the truth overshadowed the absurdity. A few days later, Harper returned with the recordings. We sat down to listen, and the voices of Caleb and his parents filled the room, chilling me to the core. As I sat unnoticed, the casual chatter around me slowly pieced together a chilling plan. Caleb's voice, clear and devoid of warmth, outlined their strategy. "Once she's fully committed, the house and all its contents are ours." His words hung in the air, a stark revelation of greed. His mother chimed in eagerly, her voice thick with anticipation. The place alone could fetch a fortune, not to mention the antiques. Pure profit. The room was cold with their calculated ambitions. Caleb's father was next, his tone conspiratorial. "We just need to ensure Olivia remains oblivious until everything is set." Overwhelmed, tears welled up in my eyes. Here were people I had come to view as family, now plotting my downfall. Beside me, Harper squeezed my hand, her anger palpable. "We can't let them do this, Olivia. We need to stop them," she urged, her resolve as firm as steel. That night, after secretly listening to their scheming, my heart weighed heavy with their betrayal. Each interaction the next day, every smile and word from them, felt tainted, a cruel facade. The next morning brought a startling isolation. The usual city sounds were oddly absent, and a quick glance revealed why. The ramps that connected me to the outside world were missing. Panic seized me. "Caleb," I called out, my voice tinged with desperation. "Where are the ramps?" "Oh, those old things." Caleb feigned ignorance, suggesting they were being repaired. His avoidance of my gaze spoke volumes. "Thought it'd be safer if you stayed inside for a bit," he said, his words hollow. The reality hit me hard. It wasn't safety, but entrapment. Safer or trapped? I couldn't help but blurt out. He offered no reply, only turned away, leaving me seething with a blend of rage and helplessness. Later, when I confronted Brenda about the ramps, her concern was as fake as her sweet tone. "We're just looking out for you, dear. No accidents, right?" she said, touching my shoulder with feigned tenderness. I recoiled from her touch, her deceit stinging sharply. "I didn't realize needing ramps was considered a hazard," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Brenda's facade briefly slipped, revealing a flash of true intent, before she regained her composed exterior. "We're trying to help, Olivia. It's for the best." That night, enveloped in darkness and the weight of their betrayal, I felt more alone than ever. Caleb was likely out, escaping his guilt. I reached for my phone, the screen a beacon of hope, and dialed Harper's number, the emergency contact she had insisted I have. "Harper," I whispered urgently into the phone, "they've removed the ramp. I'm trapped in my own house." Her response was immediate, a sturdy lifeline as she assured, "Hang tight, Olivia. I'm on it. We'll sort this out." Her determination was a small comfort in the storm swirling around me. When the doorbell rang, my pulse quickened as I made my way to the front door. There stood Harper, accompanied by a man and a woman dressed in neatly tailored suits, their expressions serious. They were members of a local lawyer group, present to evaluate my living conditions. Next to them, my attorney, Mr. Peterson, held a leather briefcase firmly. "Olivia, we're here to set things right," Harper declared, her voice firm with resolve, mirroring the determination I felt inside. Mr. Peterson stepped up, his tone businesslike. "First, we need to clarify the situation, Olivia. I'll need to tour your home and verify it against the inventory list of your parents' estate." As we walked through my home, the service representatives scribbled notes, their disapproval evident at the missing accessibility features and the apparent neglect of my needs. During this, Caleb walked in, his surprise clear on his face. "Olivia, what's happening?" "Who are these people?" he asked, baffled. I met his gaze firmly, letting him feel the intensity of my resolve. "I'm reclaiming control, Caleb. This is my lawyer, and with him are advocates for disability law. They're here to make sure my living environment is safe and that my rights are respected," I explained. When Brenda and Roger entered the room, their initial confusion quickly turned to dread as they grasped the seriousness of the situation. "Olivia, darling, what's going on here?" Brenda asked, her voice trembling. "This is about my rights, my home, and the truth," I replied, my voice calm despite the turmoil within me. Mr. Peterson opened his briefcase, revealing a stack of documents and photographs. "We have detailed records of all the items left to Mrs. Harper. It appears several are missing," he said, causing Roger's face to drain of color. "Now, Olivia, I'm sure this is all just a misunderstanding," Roger stuttered. "There's no misunderstanding," I countered, my confidence fueled by the evidence Harper had gathered, including vivid recordings playing in my mind. "We have more than just missing items to discuss." As Caleb's parents exchanged nervous glances, their act of caring in-laws crumbled. Caleb stood silent, the weight of the situation finally dawning on him. Harper stepped closer to me, her support tangible. "We also have proof of conversations concerning your property and well-being," she added. One of the advocates spoke up, "Denying access to essential ramps directly violates Mrs. Harper's rights. We will be taking action." As Mr. Peterson laid out evidence of their theft and plans regarding my future, I saw clearly how I had been trapped, but now the power had shifted. I was no longer a pawn in their game, I was in control. Caleb spoke up. Olivia, I can explain. But I cut him off. Save it, Caleb. I've heard enough. Brenda began to cry, and Roger tried to console her, but their deceit left no room for sympathy. The trial that followed marked the culmination of all I had endured. The courtroom was stark, the tension palpable. Caleb and his parents, who had once posed as my loving family, now sat across from me as my adversaries. I sat beside Harper and Mr. Peterson, who held his briefcase filled with crucial evidence. The room fell silent as the judge peered over his bench, his gaze briefly meeting mine before he spoke. Today, we will review the evidence related to the allegations of theft and the exploitation of Olivia Harper, he declared. Mr. Peterson unfolded the case, presenting recordings, discrepancies in inventory, and powerful testimony from disability advocates. The evidence mounted, leaving Caleb's family visibly uneasy and caught in their own deceit. Brenda's quiet sobs echoed like a mournful tune in the background, marking the collapse of their facade. We never meant for things to go this far, she whispered tearfully during her statement. The judge responded sternly, You exploited a vulnerable individual. There is no justification for what you've done. Caleb stood up, his voice trembling. I'm sorry, Olivia. I never meant to hurt you. His apology hung in the air, but it was too little, too late. Memories of our past flashed before me. Sorry isn't enough, Caleb. You chose this, I said. With a resolute thud, the judge's gavel came down, signaling the end of the life I once knew. Caleb and his parents were convicted, ordered to make restitution, and forbidden from any further contact with me. With Harper and a team of dedicated supporters, I began my physical therapy. Every small movement was a victory, each step forward a testament to my resilience. My legs, once immobile, started to regain strength. One day, as I stood using the parallel bars, Harper's encouraging words filled the room. Look at you, Olivia. You're doing it. Her smile mirrored mine. Joy surged from a place I feared had been permanently broken. Day by day, I made progress. My home, once a symbol of my past sorrow, gradually transformed back into a sanctuary, a place of healing and strength.